Welcome to Forensic Friday,
where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all.
So, Natalie, today we're going to be talking about a really difficult human.
Okay.
And this case poses a little bit of an ethical dilemma, moral dilemma. If someone is never held accountable for the things that they do, and they continue to just create havoc everywhere they go, if someone finally puts a stop to it in a way that's illegal, are they justified because of the other person's behavior?
It's like Dexter.
It is like Dexter, very much like Dexter.
My brain goes to, that's another shirt we should make, is my brain goes to. Anyway.
My brain goes to.
Bye, Natalie. My genuine answer, don't fire me.
Yeah.
Is it depends.
Say more.
So if a child is involved,
Okay.
in my brain, it would mean, like, for example, I forget the case, but there was a case in the last year and a half. I forget what state. I have like no information on the actual case, but do accept for what happened, which was this man walked into his son being SM'd, trying to be PC, sexually molested.
Okay.
By a babysitter, a male babysitter, and almost killed him.
Okay.
The man got off from being charged with anything because he was protecting his kid. But obviously, he could have not almost killed him and still protected his kid, but he almost killed him, but he was charged. And I sit there and I'm like, I don't disagree. Like, I agree that he should not have been charged.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Well, and then, okay, so then my brain goes to if somebody is shooting people, do you shoot them? Do you shoot the shooter? I think most people would say yes.
Yes.
I used to live across the street from an elementary school years ago. And when the thing happened at Sandy Hook, I remember talking with Gare because, I mean, we were literally like our deck looked out over the playground of the school. And I remember talking with Gare and being like, if somebody popped off in that parking lot, I'm going to mow them over with my car. I'm absolutely going to drive over there and just going to run.
Right.
I don't care who it is. I don't care who has the gun. They're going down. Like, I'm just going to take them clean out.
Well, there was that shooter in, oh gosh, see, here I go, not knowing all the details, but there's that shooter at at some college, and someone shot him.
Yeah.
Because they were shooting other people. So someone had their concealed carry and shot the shooter.
So is that any different than if somebody does these things, keeps getting away with it, keeps hurting people, and somebody just walks up and shoots them one day? Are they justified? What's different? You catch them in the moment with the gun, or do you kill them before the next time they have a chance? So
that's crazy.
I know. This is the context of the case we're discussing today.
Okay.
So let me tell you a story, and then I want to know all the things you think about this. So we're going to talk today about Ken Rex McElroy. He was born June 1st, 1934, and he was born in Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas, and then ultimately settled in Skidmore, Missouri, just outside of Skidmore, Missouri. So Ken had some behavioral issues even as a child, had some issues. I don't believe he finished high school. He just was kind of the town bully. He did all kinds of stuff. He stole cattle. He was accused of animal cruelty. I mean, burglary. I mean, there was really not much he didn't do. He was accused of dozens of felonies over the course of his life and never really went down for him. Like, some of them stuck, but he never really had to serve significant time. And this was also a pretty small community.
Interesting. I already have a thought.
Ooh, hit me with it.
So I have a guess of where this is going. So if I'm guessing correctly, which is basically he started killing people who were hurting people. That's my guess.
Nope.
Okay. Because I was going to say,
it's not full Dexter.
Okay, I was going to say this feels like more like Dexter, where it's like you have issues and you've just targeted people to get your fix, but then also people who are hurting people. Okay, anyway, continue.
No, we're not so lucky with McElroy. He's just a town bully.
Okay, valid.
So McElroy, over the course of his life, had 3 different wives. His first wife's name was Sharon. His second wife's name is Alice, and his third wife's name is Trina.
Okay.
So basically, Ken McElroy is doing his mess. He ends up fathering 10 children with different women.
10 children?
10 children with different women. 3 of the women that he had children with were his 3 wives, but there were other women as well.
Oh, wow.
His last wife, Trina, was 12 years old
Shut up.
and in 8th grade, and he was 35.
And they were married when she was 12?
Not yet. So they met when she was 12.
Oh, no.
They met when she was 12. He's 35. He raped her repeatedly.
Mm.
Trina's parents step in and they say, absolutely not. Leave our daughter alone. You're 35 years old. This is our baby. So he shoots the family dog. They had a new dog, shoots the dog and burned their house down.
Did he kill the people?
They didn't die, but he burned their house down and he killed their dog. And when that happened, he finally got Trina's family to agree to the marriage.
What?
Because they were afraid. Bottom line, they were afraid. I know. You want to kill him already. I know.
I do. Here's the thing. If I didn't, my husband would. Actually, if my husband didn't, I would. That's how that would go.
I understood. And they didn't do that. Trina becomes pregnant at the age of 14, dropped out of school in the 9th grade, and moves in with McElroy and his second wife.
So he's still married to wife number 2.
He was still married to Alice when he gets this girl knocked up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So McElroy divorced Alice and married Trina to escape the charges of statutory rape. So he was charged with statutory rape when she turned up pregnant.
Yeah, obviously.
She was the only witness. So he goes, you know what? I'll just marry her.
But that, isn't that still illegal? Well, now it's illegal.
Exactly. This was in 73.
Oh, 70s?
73.
And it wasn't illegal back then?
Statutory rape was illegal.
Right.
But because they got married, you have to have a victim press charges. And the only witness was Trina.
But now that would be illegal.
It would be illegal still, because even with the age of consent, which she was under, 12 is under the age of consent, but even with the age of consent, there's a big enough age gap that it would be an issue now. But you still need people to play ball, press charges, all the things. Honestly, the DV laws are more aggressive than sexual assault laws. That's still true.
That's insane.
I know. It's crazy. That's a soapbox for another day.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, 16 days after Trina gives birth, she and Alice flee together. They flee.
Oh, she and the second wife?
Yes.
Oh, go Alice.
Exactly. They fled, but according to court records, McElroy tracked them down and brought them back.
Why is he bringing? Also, is he still hanging on to Alice after he divorced her?
She was still around.
Okay, so and my guess is she was probably still around to try to protect Trina.
Yes. While Trina's parents were away, they had left for some reason for a short period of time. McElroy goes to their house, burns the house down again, and shoots the new dog. I shit you not.
Why? He got what he wanted.
I know, but he was that mad.
Why though? What was he mad at?
My guess, I do know why. Because when she and Alice fled, they went to that house. They went to Trina's parents' house. That's where they went. And he went back and got them. Oh, I'm just getting warmed up on this guy.
Oh, I can't. I'm going to be so mad tonight.
Just getting warmed up. Based on Trina's story, he was indicted in June of 1973 for arson, assault, and statutory rape. Okay?
Okay.
Because of all of this, it finally gets his just desserts a little bit for that. However, he posts bail.
Okay.
Trina and her baby were placed in foster care in Maryville, Missouri. So she's put in foster care probably because, her parents' house burned down and that wasn't safe for her. So she ends up in foster care. This freaking guy, McElroy, goes and sits outside of the foster home for hours at a time, just staring at it. He would just stare at the foster home. And then he told the foster family he would trade them girl for girl to get his child back, since he knew where the foster family's biological daughter went to school and what her bus route was.
So he basically was threatening them
He threatened their biological daughter.
and said, "Hey, I will use your imagination if you don't give me my girl back."
Exactly. So more charges get filed. They're like, oh, hell no. They tell the authorities charges get filed.
Good. Okay, good.
But again, he's not in jail.
Ugh.
More charges, and they're just accumulating, and he's antisocial, so he doesn't do anything, right, that he's supposed to do. In 1976, there was a farmer named Romaine Henry who said McElroy shot him twice with a shotgun after he told him not to shoot weapons on his property.
So wait, who shot who?
McElroy shot this dude
Okay.
when the dude said, hey, don't shoot weapons on my property. He was charged with assault with intent to kill. McElroy denied that he was there. And the case dragged on without a court date. And ultimately, McElroy parked outside of this man's home at least 100 times. And ultimately, McElroy convinces a couple of raccoon hunters. Apparently, there were raccoon hunters then. I don't know if people still hunt raccoons, whatever. But people testified that they were actually with him that day. He basically bought an alibi or intimidated people into being his alibi. And then the attorney went in on this man, the man who accused McElroy. And because he hadn't come clean about he had his own petty criminal conviction 30 years prior, McElroy gets acquitted. So he literally shot at this guy, shot him twice with a shotgun, and gets acquitted.
Wow. I've never met anybody that you and I've worked with who've been that lucky.
Yes.
And have done less.
Never. And this is some small town stuff.
Right.
It's 70s, early 80s, right? I mean, this is a whole bunch of nonsense happening, you know? That brings us to 1980.
This is why the laws got more strict, y'all.
I know it. We have to defend it all the time.
Stop getting angry that the laws are more strict. This is the why.
This is the why. Thank McElroy. Get mad at him. Don't get mad at us.
Yeah, call these guys who are write them in prison and say, you ruined it for everybody else.
Yeah, we all can't be a little bit bad anymore.
No.
I don't know why we're mad about that anyway, but that's fine.
They're like, the laws in Colorado are so tough. Yeah.
Yes, they are. Also, what we see that I want to draw attention to is stalking and intimidation. We have stalking and intimidation, right? Power and control.
Mm-hmm.
Stalking and intimidation. 1980, one of McElroy's children, it was actually his 8-year-old daughter, got into an argument with a clerk at a local grocery store owned by 70-year-old Ernest Bowenkamp and his wife Lois, because the kiddo tried to steal some candy. So the kiddo tries to, imagine that McElroy's child is a little bit of a criminal, right? Stealing some candy.
Would have never guessed.
Exactly. And the clerk just says, hey man, or don't do that, right? Don't steal the candy, whatever. McElroy gets so angry that he starts stalking Bowenkamp and eventually threatened him in the back of his store with a shotgun in his hand.
Just because he told his kid not to steal candy?
100%. In the confrontation, McElroy shot Bowenkamp in the neck. Bowenkamp survived, and McElroy was arrested and charged with attempted murder. He was convicted at the trial, but he was freed on bail because he filed for an appeal.
Shut up.
So he files an appeal, so he's out, which I have lots of opinions about. Immediately, Nat, he gets out of the hearing. He goes to this tavern in town, the D&G Tavern, with an M1 Garand rifle with a bayonet attached, and made graphic threats about what he was going to do to Bowenkamp. The guy that he just shot in the neck, he's threatening this guy again.
Only because he said, hey, kid, don't steal candy from my store.
100%.
That's insane.
So several people now are like, we got to do something about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they decide to have a town meeting. The appeal hearing got delayed again. And the townspeople are like, we can't wait. We can't wait anymore. He's appealing. He's out on the streets. He's threatening our guy, Bo. We can't do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the morning of July 10th, 1981, the townspeople all meet at Legion Hall in the center of town with the sheriff, Dan Estes, to discuss how to protect themselves. They want to know, is there anything legally we can do to protect ourselves and to keep this guy from harming people?
This is just like pure insanity.
Oh, for sure. So then Sheriff Estes is like, y'all don't get into a direct confrontation with him. Maybe you should form a neighborhood watch program. This is, you and I laugh about like putting signs up places. Antisocial people don't care about signs. That's one of the fundamental things about antisocial disorder.
I don't care about the sign.
No, they're not going to be like, oh, I should slow down. I should not bring my gun in here because it tells me not to. Like, they're literally defined by breaking rules. So
Literally.
the sign is like an invitation to do something fun to these people. So you don't do it. You don't do the sign. If anything, say, please bring your gun in. Then they'd be like, oh, hell no, I'm not bringing my gun in here. Nobody's going to tell me what to do.
Right. Why are they inviting me to do that?
We got to do like paradoxical interventions with these people, right?
Yes.
So the sheriff says, let's have a neighborhood watch. Citizens are like, whatever, bro. So Sheriff Estes drives off in his patrol car. The townspeople hear that McElroy is in that tavern again. So they're like, let's go see him. So McElroy is drinking and the tavern fills up with the townsfolk. They all show up. He finishes his drink. He gets a 6-pack of beer, left the bar, and gets in his pickup truck. While he's sitting in the truck, he gets shot several times, but hit only twice. Once by a center fire rifle and once by a .22 rim fire rifle.
Oh, dang. So we got 2 shooters.
We have 2 shooters, at least.
Mm-hmm.
2 shooters that hit him.
2 shooters that hit him.
In all, there were 46 potential witnesses to the shooting, including his wife.
His 12-year-old wife?
Yeah, well, you know what? She's like 14 or 16 now. Let's see, 81.
Right.
I don't know. She's an older teen.
The teenager wife.
The teenager wife, right, is in the truck. She's not shot. Actually, somebody got her out of the car. Anyway, long story short, no one calls for an ambulance. Not one soul calls for an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
Only Trina claimed to identify a gunman. All the other 46 people were either unable to name an assailant or claimed not to have seen who fired the final shots.
Wow.
And the DA declines to press charges.
Well, yeah.
A Missouri-based journalist, Stephen Boer, described the attitude of some townspeople as he needed killing.
I mean, I don't disagree.
I know. This is one of those ones, man.
That's spicy.
In the aftermath, basically, Trina in 1984 filed a $5 million wrongful death lawsuit against the person she thought was one of the shooters who was never charged, the town, all the things. She ended up settling out of court for $17,600 with no one admitting guilt. And basically, the only reason they settled was to avoid costly legal fees. She remarried, moved to Lebanon, Missouri, and died of cancer on her 55th birthday. That's kind of the end of Trina.
That makes me sad.
So this opens up so many things, I feel like.
Yeah.
What are some of the questions when we think diagnostically about our buddy McElroy? What are some of the things that come to mind for you?
A lot of things. So when I'm thinking of like criminogenic needs that you and I've discussed, all the things. Diagnostically, I mean, somewhere on the antisocial spectrum.
Absolutely, which we know kids go from oppositional defiant disorder. Some of them move on to conduct disorder. Some of them move on to antisocial personality disorder.
Yep.
That appears true for him. So he was the 15th of 16 children.
Wow.
Born to a poor migrant tenant farming couple. And he dropped out of school pretty young and was like immediately stealing things, messing around, womanizing, all of it. So he was very criminally active from a very young age.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That you spelled that out really well in terms of his history. Yeah. So, I mean, antisocial personality disorder, narcissist, I mean, pretty much he's in the personality spectrum or personality diagnosis area. I would say antisocial.
Antisocial. So then that brings up the question, is he a psychopath? My brain goes to yes.
My brain goes to yes as well.
But I thought what I might do for funsies is list out the 20 items on the PCLR,
Ooh,
psychopathy checklist revised by Mr. Dr. Hare.
that would be fun.
Glibness, superficial charm is item 1. I don't think this guy was super charming. I don't get that sense.
Well, but here's the thing though. He slept with many women
Ooh,
and had many children. So I think that he probably did have some charm.
he also raped a lot of people.
Yeah.
Maybe he might have had some charm. I'd have to get more information. We'll put a question mark.
Question mark.
Grandiose sense of self-worth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see some pieces of that. Need for stimulation, prone to boredom.
Absolutely.
It doesn't say that, but his lifestyle, when you're that young and you're running around stealing stuff, confronting people, like that looks pretty clear.
Yeah.
Pathological lying, I'm going to give that a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Conning, manipulative, I'm going to say yes. He actually gamed the legal system quite well.
Well, yeah, he was like rarely jailed.
Absolutely. Lack of remorse.
Yeah, no, that's not there.
I don't see anywhere that he felt remorseful.
Mm-mm. He even punished people for them setting a boundary for his kid not to steal. I mean, he punished people.
Shallow affect is interesting. There's not really enough information about his emotion because sometimes psychopaths actually have a range of emotion. It's just all very shallow.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much about his affect beyond frustration, confrontation, that kind of stuff. So that feels more impulse to me than anything. Lack of empathy. Again, I don't think that you rape a 12-year-old girl if you have empathy. That just doesn't feel like
No,
has any of that.
you don't do any of the things he did if you have empathy.
Parasitic lifestyle. That's an interesting one. I don't know who brought in the money. I don't know if the women in his life were supporting him financially or not. That I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Poor behavioral controls. Check, check. He did not have himself in great control. Promiscuous sexual behavior. Check, check, check.
Mm-hmm.
Early behavioral problems. Check. Lack of realistic long-term goals. I'm going to say check. I mean, this was not a man with a plan. This was a man who was doing whatever he wanted day to day. Impulsivity, clearly he had impulsivity. Irresponsibility. That seems pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
Failure to accept responsibility for his actions. I'm going to go with yes.
Obviously.
This one's so interesting. Many short-term marital relationships. Check. This was wife number 3, and he probably would have gone right on to a 4th.
Yeah.
As she got older, he would have gone for someone younger again.
That's fair.
Ugh, that makes me mad. And all the things. Juvenile delinquency. Check. Revocation of conditional release is interesting. He was never incarcerated long enough to have a revocation, like a probation or whatever, but he clearly would.
Which is insane.
He clearly would reoffend while he was still in a legal process for something else.
Yes.
And then number 20 is criminal versatility, which just means, do you do lots of different criminal things? And I would say, yes, we have arson, rape, burglary, theft. I mean, he's doing all the things. It'd be hard to find a category that he was not actually engaging in on some level.
Yeah.
So from a criminogenic needs perspective, we know criminogenic needs are the things that drive recidivism.
Yeah.
If these things are going on, someone is more likely to keep doing their criminal behavior. So you want to share those?
Yeah. So here's the big 8 that us forensic therapists and forensic psychologists go by. History of antisocial behavior, antisocial personality, antisocial values and attitudes, antisocial peers, substance abuse, dysfunctional family relationships, education/employment, and then leisure. Leisure meaning what they do with their free time being not great.
Well, gosh, he has every one of them.
Literally. I mean, drinks. What did it say about his education? Do we know?
He dropped out. He dropped out 8th grade.
Dropped out. We don't know about his employment. His leisure activities are literally antisocial activities. And then antisocial peers. I mean, I don't know if he had peers. I think his only peer.
Well, he had people who would lie for him. So whether he intimidated them or they were also engaged in some of the behaviors he was, it's hard to know.
That's fair.
Everyone was afraid of him. Like, this is witness intimidation to the max.
Well, this is why he got shot and no one said anything.
Exactly.
Because they were like, bye, bro. Antisocial values and attitudes, absolutely, he has that. Antisocial history of antisocial behavior, obviously. You talked about his childhood, things he did as a child and a teen. And then antisocial personality. I think he does have antisocial personality disorder. I think
100%.
I think he does have it. He checked all the boxes.
So here are some of the dicier questions. We started this with a moral ethical dilemma, right? If I would mow someone over with my car, if they pulled out a gun on a playground, and I don't care at that point. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what you're doing. I'm gonna mow you right over, right? To save children, to save other children, whatever. Particularly if you're an adult, though. If you're an adult, I'm gonna chase you even after you're running away and probably mow you over with my car. That's just where we're at. Okay. Take it away, right? But when I think about this, is there any room for empathy for a psychopath?
Oh man, you're hitting me with hard questions today.
I know, right?
Yes, in theory. Did it talk about his childhood? How he was like, not the behaviors he did, but how he was treated?
None that I could find. I could probably do deeper digging to find out.
Yeah.
No, I don't have information on how he was treated. I will say.
But he has how many siblings?
He's the 15th of 16.
Okay.
So he has 14 older brothers and sisters and one younger.
Gosh. Here's my thought. And I don't know, I'm not trying to make a judgment because I know plenty of good humans in big families. However, that's a very large family.
A huge family and poor. A very big, very poor family.
And even if the parents treated them well, it's a lot of kids. It's a lot to try to divide your attention. What I do know in bigger families, especially older families like that, like you said he was born in the 30s.
Yes.
There's a lot of bullying in families like that. And so I do have a little bit of a guess that maybe there was some level of abuse / bullying going on for him. And so when I think of empathy for a individual who has antisocial personality disorder, I think there's room for that. However, empathy doesn't mean that, obviously I agree is the wrong word, but empathy doesn't mean that I think that I would say he shouldn't have reaped consequences. Like, I'm sorry if you were treated poorly. That really sucks. No child should be treated poorly or bullied or abused. And you still had choices that you made.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think I'm reading 3 books simultaneously about psychopaths right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm in that training, I'm getting all this advanced stuff. The brains of psychopaths, what we're learning is they're different. Structurally, actually, a little bit different.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. You may have some environmental effects. You may not. They're actually maybe just a straight up difference.
Right.
They might have something organically going on. Also, I did read that he had a pretty major head injury at some point along the way.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And I would need to dig into that a little bit more, but I do think it is possible in his case that he may have had some organic things going on as well. If you're a townsperson, if you're one of the 46, I don't know if I would have been the one to shoot him because I see myself more as someone who would react a certain way in the moment than somebody who would just go shoot someone who's not actively doing something in that moment. That feels a little bit more something to me.
Yeah.
But would you have been one of the 46 bystanders who doesn't say anything if this man has terrorized your entire town?
Honestly, yes.
I kind of feel like I might not say anything. I just think if this person has terrorized this entire town for this long, no accountability, even law enforcement's scared of him. Like the townspeople were saying,
Yep.
Law enforcement was afraid of him because he would just show up with weapons.
Well, and honestly, I mean, I would be one of the 46 or 47, whatever it was, that wouldn't say anything because someone like that, an individual like that, if law enforcement is scared of you, like what's next? Right? Like,
well, yeah, he's already raping children.
Right.
And imprisoning children, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think that is something that he's doing. Even your elderly shop owners are not safe. He shot one of them in the throat and immediately came back after him when he got out of, being at a hearing for it. I don't think anyone was safe from this man. And I don't think even Trina's family didn't know how to keep her and themselves safe.
No, they just said, okay, marry her.
Well, I think ultimately they decided they were all going to die if they didn't give in. And he burned their house down twice, killed both the dogs. We don't know if there were other kids in the family. I think they figured it was inevitable. Either we give in or we die. And that's horrible. This is a wild case. It is a true story. Have you ever heard of the movie Roadhouse? I've never seen it, but I've heard of it before.
No, I haven't heard of it.
So there's a villain in Roadhouse.
Okay.
Which was like a 1989 action movie. I think they just did a remake with who's that MMA fighter? The Irish guy. McGregor.
Oh, he's in a movie? He's not in a movie.
Conor McGregor. Yes, he's in a movie. And I think he might play this character, but I don't know for sure. Don't quote me.
I cannot believe he's in a movie.
Yeah. He's got the little, and he's not a very big person, but he's got this like swagger and whatever.
Very little.
He's kind of little, but I wouldn't say that to his face. And not if he was standing.
I mean, just because he's super strong. So, I mean, you can be little and wicked strong. I mean,
yes. But I think he actually may play this character in the remake. But they built this character around McElroy.
Okay.
Like this town bully who scares everybody. Isn't that wild?
We'll have to watch the movie.
I know we should. Let's have a movie night and watch the movie.
Okay. We'll record and watch the movie.
We need to do that.
I just think I mean, and it's a small town. Like, it's kind of how the old days did things.
Yeah.
If law enforcement isn't going to take care of it, someone else is going to take care of it.
Well, and it's sort of, it brings to the front of mind for me, we do work with the occasional person who has psychopathic traits. It's a continuum. It is overly represented in some careers, which we've talked about before. Some of it's organic, right? And so it used to be thought that you just can't treat a psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other personality disorders, it was sort of believed you really can't treat it. It's just whatever. What we know now is you actually can encourage them / counsel them to get their needs met without hurting other people and breaking the law.
Which I've done. Part of when I ran DVMRT, I worked with, obviously, like worldwide, there's a small percentage of these individuals. However, we tend to see more of that percentage because of the work we do.
100%. Yep.
So, I remember working with some guys, individuals in general, who that was what we worked on was
absolutely
okay. Like, you don't have any empathy for your partner or your children, and you have these beliefs that don't line up with societal rules.
Mm-hmm.
Let's work on how can we make the rules benefit you?
Yeah. If our job is to motivate you, not hurt the community and hurt your family, right? Then we just have to figure out what motivates you. And sometimes it's not being in prison. Sometimes it's freedom that is motivating to you.
Sometimes it's just getting your partner to stop yelling and quote unquote nagging at you.
100%.
Sometimes that's more fulfilling to you than it is to them.
Absolutely. So of the tiny subset of the population, general population, we're talking 1%. Clinical populations, maybe 5%, maybe even up to 10% in some of our cases.
Mm-hmm.
In the incarcerated population, it can be as high as 20 to 25%.
Yeah, I believe that.
Depending on where you're at. Particularly, I would say if you're in a maximum security prison, that percentage is going to be a lot higher, even than the clinical population. So I guess one of the heart pieces is there are actually ways to engage with these people. It's not game over. I will say
it might have been game over for him.
Oh, it was game over for him. I don't think he was going to get better.
I don't think he was treatable.
I don't think he was treatable.
Maybe as a kid. If someone could have caught it as a kid.
Yeah.
And worked with him, or even a teenager.
Well, I have big issues with incarceration. I'm a rehabilitation person. I believe we need consequences. I believe the law has its place. I don't love the idea of locking people up like animals. I know a lot of people who've been locked up who really should not have been locked up, particularly on marijuana offenses in the 80s and 90s, but that's a topic for a whole nother day.
Yep.
But I will say that there are some people who just cannot safely be in society with other people. And I think McElroy is one of those people, whether it was an organic brain injury or whatever was going on with him. He was not safe in the community. He just wasn't.
Yeah.
Should they have killed him? I don't know. Y'all can make up your own mind about that. Natalie and I've landed on we probably wouldn't have told.
Yeah, I wouldn't have told.
I don't think snitches get stitches. I don't think I would have said anything about it. I probably would have just, gone with it.
Look the other way.
Look the other way. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I would agree with you though. The heart piece is that, there is treatment for individuals. There is therapy. There are therapists who I wouldn't go, enjoy. I think I've enjoyed working with individuals like this before I've never worked with anyone who's like done this much, but
You and I enjoy the chess match of getting out in front of somebody who thinks like this. I will always enjoy that.
yes.
That being said, I've never treated a Ken McElroy
No.
in my career. I've never treated somebody who's raping children, shooting people. Like, that is not something I've come across. I've come across elements of all of those things
Yes.
separately, but not all together in one human. But I do think that there are some clinicians, and you and I fall into this camp, that do enjoy trying to figure a different way forward that keeps the community safe, even if it involves incarceration. And sometimes it does.
Right.
Sometimes it does. I will say, though, if you are truly in a relationship with somebody like this or have someone like this in your family, you are not going to be able to change their behavior using emotions.
No.
That's never going to work. And I think we think that.
And actually, if anything, it's going to make it worse.
It will make it worse. We actually do not teach people like this how to have empathy because, number one, they don't care. And number two, they end up using it. We basically have just given them a weapon.
Yep.
We've just handed them a weapon. Here's some empathy so that you can go beat up on somebody and actually look even better while you're doing it. So we actually pull these people out
and make them think it's their fault.
Absolutely. So that is just something I wanted to say, because while it is 1 in 100, maybe people, there are people like this sometimes in our lives, and we need to recognize it and protect ourselves and our families. That doesn't mean we run them over with our car.
No.
It means we don't try to convince them like, why don't you care? You should care about this. Why won't you do it for your son or your daughter? Why won't you do it for your mom? I'm your mom. Don't hurt your mom. They don't care about any of that.
Mm-mm.
It needs to be, hey, the locksmith is going to be out here to change the lock. You're going to need to go pay rent somewhere if you don't stop doing X, Y, Z. That they might understand.
Right.
Because if it saves them money to not treat you like that, they might not treat you like that.
Exactly. They might stop terrorizing you if you just tell them the facts. That's
exactly right. I had a bona fide psychopath come in for an intake one time. This person hated America and women. So I was literally his worst nightmare. He walked into the office. He hated me immediately. He wrote all over his intake paperwork, death to America, death to women. Women are blah, 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 some slurs, all kinds of things in there. That was a fun read. I messaged the front office where I was working and I said, hey, if you don't hear from me later, this is who I'm meeting with. I don't feel super comfortable. I locked my door and I sat in there while they were finishing paperwork, and they came in and I was genuinely nervous. And this is probably close to a Ken McElroy situation. And so he sits down and I look at him and I say, we have something in common. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads. And I said, we both want to get you out of here as fast as humanly possible. And he started laughing. And you know what? We did the intake.
And you did the thing.
And I couldn't get him to shut up. Then he wanted to talk and talk and talk. And I just was trying to smoothly get him out of the office and maybe never see him again, which is ultimately what ended up happening. But yeah, sometimes you just have to figure out what the need is. And sometimes the need is they just want to get out of the room. And so we're going to let him out of the room.
We're just going to,
we're going to expedite that. Right? Go with God, sir.
Go with God.
Nice to meet you. See you never.
Yes. It's just so individuals like that are so fascinating. So fascinating. I wouldn't say I had someone who was that extreme, but I've worked with individuals who also hate women, who believe women should be punished for behaving, all the things.
That's a fun one.
Oh, that was real fun. And same thing. It was, I didn't say, I just want you to be done as fast as possible, but I said, you want your kid in your life for whatever reason. You want your kid in your life.
Mhm.
You're still, for whatever reason, wanting to stay in this relationship, but yet you hate her and you think she should be punished all the time. Help me help you.
Exactly.
How can we keep you from getting arrested again and hurting people?
Yeah,
And how's that going to benefit you? And they were like, they were like, sign me up.
absolutely.
If it benefits me, sign me up.
Sometimes it's just math.
Sometimes it's just the math.
It's math.
Stick to the facts.
Well, thanks for humoring my pretty intense case over here.
Well, and that was from a listener
It was from a listener. Yeah.
that wanted you to cover this.
Yep. We actually have probably 4 or 5 that we've gotten from you guys that are in the queue that we're working on recording and getting out on the podcast. Also, we cracked 3,000.
I know, that's
today,
so crazy.
which is incredible. So thank you all for your support. Hope you enjoyed this interesting tale, and we will see you next week.
Bye, forensic friends.
I'm Janine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.